So, today we are going to go over the proposal. I'm going to get really in depth into the proposal and say a lot of things that I usually don't say during the close, but that's so that you guys fully understand every single thing so that if a customer does ask you something, you know the answer to it. So, first things first, usually when I get to the home, I'll make sure that the setting is right. I'll make sure that I have a husband and wife there if, applicable. But I'll make sure that both of the decision makers or the decision maker is sitting, at a table preferably, and somewhere comfortable where I can keep their attention. Don't be afraid to reschedule appointments if you go and it's not the right time. At the end of the day, these people are human beings and sometimes they make schedule errors too. But if you try to push during the wrong time, that could be a reason why you lose a sale. So when I get there, I'll make sure I have both of the decision makers, and then I will first start by going over the door pitch. I'll repitch them both at the door pitch at the same time. I'll ask them if they have any questions about that, and then I'll ask them if they've looked into solar before. The reason why I ask that question is because it helps me gain, a little bit of knowledge with, where they're at in the solar process. And if they've looked into it before, odds are something interested them, and that's why they're sitting with you today, right? So another thing that happens is they'll tell you objections. They'll say, yeah, we've looked into it before, but honestly, we just didn't like that it was a 25-year contract, or, we didn't like that, the lease was 25 years, or, whatever. They'll tell you, a basic objection. Then you know how to gear your pitch and how to gear the close to, one, go over that objection, but two, make it to where it's not an objection at all anymore. So I usually start by showing them this, and I'll say, hey, this is what your guys' design came back. Do you guys have any questions about this design? It looks pretty. You'll have a lot of them on this side of the roof, and then you'll have some over here. Awesome, awesome, boom, boom, boom. And, sometimes they have questions, sometimes they don't. But then I get into the next slide. And then the next slide here, I put these here so that you would have talking points, okay? To control your energy costs, what I'll usually talk about is the fact that when they go solar, they get to lock in their energy rate. So what happens is no matter how much NV energy goes up, it's not going to affect their pockets because they're not buying their electricity from NV energy. So what happens is when we sign these people up, guys, we want to, produce all of the electricity that they use in the house. So we don't want them buying any electricity from NV Energy. And so that's why we, put out the high offsets that we do. But at this point here, you really want to make sure that they know that what they're about to decide on is cheaper and more controllable than what they've been doing. That's the main point that you want to get across in controlling their energy costs. You want them to know that no matter what, the solar payment's not going to change. And that's why a lot of people have done it. That's why a lot of your neighbors have done it, because one, it makes your bill more predictable. Two, the bill is lower. And three, now every time you pay that bill, it's actually going into something that's getting paid off. And when it's paid off, you won't have a bill at all. Does that make sense? Boom. All right, so those are the main points that you want to get across, and control your energy costs. When you talk about controlling their energy costs, you want to make sure that you keep them, keep their attention while you're doing it. So a couple questions that I'll usually ask, is, hey, do you know how much you're spending on electricity right now? And I'll let them try to guess, and I'll let them try to guess, even though we know the answer, and it's on the proposal. They're gonna guess, way lower usually than they actually do. So I come back and I say, you're actually spending this. Boom. And then I'll show them, what they're spending. And then I'll say, on average, this is what you spend. And so this is what you spend now. But as time goes by, NV Energy's prices are going to go up. They have been going up in the past. The reason why is Vegas is growing. And when it grows, NV Energy has to build. And unfortunately, they're not going to pay for it. They're going to charge people like me and you through our power bill. So the way people protect themselves against having to pay for that is by going solar and, having the solar panels up on the roof. And it's, because now they produce their own energy and they don't have to buy any of that electricity from NV Energy. All right. So the second part is they get to upgrade their home. when they put the solar panels up, guys, they get to list their home as an energy efficient home, which helps it sell faster and for a premium. Now, usually here is where I'll ask if they plan on moving. The reason why is I like to pair the moving with the fact that they're upgrading their home. So I like to say, hey, do you guys plan on moving anytime soon? If they say yes, I'll say, awesome, you guys are going to be in a great position because you guys have the solar panels on the home. You get to label it as an energy efficient home, and those homes end up selling faster and for a premium. And especially, guys, if they wait for after, the next 2 years, that federal tax credit goes from, last year it was 30%, this year it was 26%, next year it's 22%, and then it's gone. So what happens is it's going to be cheaper for people to buy houses with solar panels on them already than to buy a new home and put solar panels on it because that federal tax credit's gone. So I always want to make sure here they know one that they're upgrading their home, and two, because they're upgrading their home, if they did decide to move, they're going to be in a really good position because a lot of times the amount of equity that gets added into the home is actually more than the solar panels cost. So they end up making a little money off of the moves too. So this upgrading your home, you just really want to make sure that they're going to be, you make them feel good about their house, right? You make them see into the future, hey, we're going to be upgraded as an energy efficient home. And, you want to paint the picture for them, especially if they have a pool, or, they have dual AC units or they have a big house. You want to mention that too. You want to say, hey, when people move into a big house like this and that you have dual AC units or you have a pool in the backyard, they really, really, really like being able to pair that with going solar. And the reason why is, when you go to sell the home, it's, hey, big, beautiful house with a pool, but no energy bill, no power bill. And that's pretty enticing for a lot of people because I personally would love to have a house, a huge, big house, but when I'm looking at homes, the amount of money that you spend on electricity for a pool is expensive. And so having a home with solar for me would, cancel out that objection for me when I was going to buy a house. So the third point is save money. I kind of touch on this. This is kind of just a filler point of like another reason why people do it is to save money. At the end of the day, you are going to be spending less than you do with NV Energy. At the end of the day, your solar bill is going to be less than what you were paying with NV Energy every month. And then, you kind of just set it up to where, they just realize, hey, solar is going to be cheaper than my utility. All right. And then, depending on who I'm talking to, I'll touch on the environment. Solar is a big deal. And when I touch on the environment, I'll touch on, NV Energy's mandate that, they got federally mandated to produce more clean energy. That's why all this is going on. And that's why this program is back. And that's why, they created this program for people that can do it to do it because not many people can do it. So I touch on all this here. And then at this point, I'll pause and I'll just say, hey, does all of this make sense? Do you guys have any questions? And then they'll say, oh, no. And okay, I'll say, okay, cool. So just, you get to control your energy costs because, solar is going to be, less than what you're paying with NV Energy. If you do go to sell the home, you get to sell it as an energy efficient home. You're going to save money and we're helping the environment here. I'm going to move forward. Cool. And then they say, yep. And boom. All right. So then I explain how we get our power now. And I'll let them know, hey, this is the grid. Power gets, made at the power plant from dirty fossil fuels. That energy then gets set up to a transformer. That transformer then gets sent to the tower. The tower sends that energy to a transmission substation. Then that substation sends it to the distribution substation. And then it goes to the transformers, and then it goes to their house. So, guys, one point that I'll really touch on here is the fact that we get a lot of our energy from out of state. And that's a big reason why our energy costs are so high and going to continue to rise. So picture this. This power plant is in California or Arizona, and then all of a sudden the power is in your home in Vegas. So from it going from A to B, well, A to Z actually, it goes through a lot of different points and it gets touched by a lot of different people. And when it gets touched by that many people, what ends up happening is a lot of that power is actually lost. So in distribution, guys, a lot of power is lost. And when we have to distribute to bigger parts of the city, even more power is going to be lost, which means power prices are going to get higher. It's just supply and demand. The more people that need power across the city, the bigger they have to build all this, and the more expensive it gets for everybody. So, aside from being very inefficient, this way of power delivery is terrible for our environment. And so, to top it off, it's very expensive. Rates will continue to increase unless we make a change. Kind of a no brainer. So, after that, I'll get right into this slide, and I'll say, do you guys know how solar works? Do you guys have you guys ever looked into solar before? Okay, you guys didn't go to the solar university? Okay, me neither. Just kidding, I did. And then I'll say it's actually really simple. The solar panels, they trap the sunlight, and they turn that sunlight into a DC energy. Then that energy gets sent down to an inverter, and then that inverter turns the DC energy into AC energy that you can actually use for the home. During this part, this ties directly into the net meter, guys. So you mention the solar panels, then you say, okay, and then it rolls down to the inverter, and then guess what? You get to mention the net meter. And so when I mention net metering, this is a big point that you want to make sure that they understand. So I'll say, the solar panels feed blah, 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 down to the inverter, down to the net meter, and then how it works is and I'll draw this out on a piece of paper, just to make sure that I have their attention. I'll draw a little house on a piece of paper. I might comment on how good of an artist I am, or something to make sure that I have their attention and make them laugh. And then I'll look them, I'll get serious and I'll say, all right, guys, so seriously, what happens is during the winter time, you guys are going to use a lot less energy than you do during the summertime, especially because, like our customer today, had a pool. So what happens is just because it's winter or just because it's summer, the seasons don't affect the amount that a solar panel will produce or the amount that your whole array will produce, but what changes is your usage. So during the winter, you use less. During the summer, you use more. So what happens is all winter long, all the electricity that your solar panels produce that you don't use gets sent back to the grid, and then I'll draw a little grid out next to my house, and then I'll say it gets sent back to the grid, and NV Energy gets to take it and do whatever they want with it. Then I'll pause, I'll make sure I have their attention, and I'll say where you benefit is all that electricity that you send back to NV Energy during the winter. During the summertime, when you do need more electricity than the solar panels are producing, you're going to be able to pull from your bank of credits that you built up all winter instead of buying that electricity from NV Energy. And then I'll ask them if it makes sense. And then if they give you a mixed review or they give you a kind of shaky head, you'll do it from the beginning again. So you just re-explain it, and find out what question they have, or find out what part of this confused them, and then pinpoint it and conquer it from there. So at the end of this, you really want to make sure, hey guys, does that make sense? Do you have any questions so far? And then they'll say no or yes. Answer the questions, ask again. Do you guys have any questions so far? And then I'll always say it's pretty simple. It's all pretty easy. They made this just really simple and easy because they really just wanted the people that can do it to do it. And I'll say stuff like that a lot during my pitch, guys, and a lot during my close, because what happens is it starts preconditioning their mind to thinking that everything is easy and everything is simple and all of this is simple. And that matched with the way that I make it flow, make them flow from A to Z with these power slides, it really makes the difference once you get to the end. So during the whole close, I'm saying, hey, it's just really simple, it's really easy, and I'm making sure that they understand that this isn't going to be a big deal at all. So way before I even mention numbers, I want them to precondition it, because when I do mention numbers, I say the same thing. All right? So all simple and easy, boom. Then I'll get into moving again. The reason why we get into moving twice is because that's usually a question that people have, that they hear the answer, but they don't really understand the answer until you explain it multiple times. So same thing. If they do go to move, they're going to be able to list their home as an energy efficient home. Those homes usually sell a lot faster than other homes, just because whatever's left on the solar panels gets to roll into the mortgage for the next person that moves in. So whoever moves in here next after you, they're going to get to just enjoy not having a power bill at all. And so that's a pretty solid selling point for these houses. On top of that, once this tax credit is gone next year, the year after next year, solar is going to go back to being expensive, and that's the reason why people didn't buy it to begin with. So people aren't going to want to buy a house and then put solar on. They're going to want a house with solar panels already on them because that's the best bang for their buck. So I'll make sure that they have no questions. I'll make sure that this is all clear. I use this to build value too, guys. So subconsciously what's happening is we're actually telling them that their house is going to be worth more, and we're painting the picture of their home looking better in their head. We're painting the picture of them, selling the home and being able to sell it for more. And this is something that, they pay into every month, guys. This is a big purchase for them. So a lot of times, making a decision like this is a big deal. And don't get me wrong, people want to make purchases like this. People want to add value to their home. They just want you to show them how the value is added. And so that's what this point is. This is what, the whole talking point is for. This is to show them, hey, not only is this going to be cheaper for you, but it's going to add a lot of value to your situation. It's going to add a lot of value to your lifestyle. So then I go to the next one. I really only get into this slide if, they still buck on, or they still have something to say about, their home value or, equity solar ads. So guys, this is the National Renewable Energy Lab. They're a pretty big deal. And they say that on average, every 1 kilowatt of solar adds $5,900 in home value. So the amount of equity that they add to the home from going solar is often more than the solar panels actually cost. And when they get their house assessed to go sell it, they're going to assess it off of the price that they bought it for, right? So they're going to, put the solar panels on it, and they're going to assess it at that point. And so if they do that, this, $5,900, they're going to even make a little money off of the solar panels when they go to sell their house, depending on when they sell it. Now, keep in mind too, let's say that they move in 10 years, all right? And I'll mention this to customers too. Let's say that, they move in 10 years. One, whoever buys that home is going to get the solar panels discounted because the existing homeowner got the tax credit, which discounted the solar panels. But two, the existing homeowner has also been paying the power bill for 10 years. And every time he's made that power bill payment, it's gone into paying off the solar panels as a whole. So what happens is, after 10 years, the equity that the solar panels have built is still the same. And now the solar panels are almost paid off. When you sell the home, you're going to make a little money off of that. Hope that makes sense. All right, so during this part, these are all talking points as well, guys. So this is where I start to soft seed them that this is going to be a purchase. This whole presentation, I haven't really mentioned any numbers. I haven't really mentioned, how exactly the program works. This is where I start to soft seed it. So I'll say, hey, you guys, part of owning the system, good part about it is you guys get all the tax credits, so you get to use that instead of giving that money to Uncle Sam. You get to put it back into your pockets or, back into the solar system. Second, again, if you guys do decide to sell the house, you're going to be sitting in a really good position just because of the equity that gets added to the home from going solar. Another part is that there's not going to be any upfront costs. Because NV Energy got federally mandated to produce more clean energy, they got pretty creative with this program. And so they designed it to where it's just, super simple and easy, and you're not going to have anything come out of pocket until your first power bills due. So another reason why people are doing it is to save money, just because when you do get your actual first solar power bill, or you do make your first solar payment, that payment's going to be a lot less than the payments that you were making to NV Energy. So, and then as time goes on, you're going to save more and more and more. Then I'll touch on the environment. I'll just let them know, hey, this does help the environment more than a lot of people realize. That's the reason why this whole federal mandate was happening. And then I'll mention the warranty. When I mention this 25-year warranty, I'll mention the production warranty, and I'll say, hey, this system is designed to be a worry-free system. It comes with a 25-year production warranty, so if it doesn't produce what we say it's going to produce, then they'll come out and they'll replace whatever modules need to be replaced. So this is designed just to be as simple and easy for people as possible. Another cool thing is For a lot of people, they used to be, worried about the roof. We add a 12-year roof warranty on top of whatever roof warranty they have. And just so you guys know, if they go out and they buy a new roof tomorrow, the roof warranty that usually comes with roofs are 12-year warranties. So the fact that we offer a 12-year warranty on the part of the roof that we work on, it just, lets you guys know the quality of work that we do, and that lets them know that, hey, we trust in our quality of work enough to warranty it for 12 years. So if they did have any problems go on with it, we would come out and fix it. It's not going to cost them anything. It comes with the warranty. And so this is where I kind of just make them feel secure. I'll let them know, hey, this is where you feel secure. This is where they protected the homeowners this time with these warranties, so that you can really take control of your future, and you can really take control of your power costs, and stop having to worry about your power bill going up year after year after year, because the same thing happened in California. Power, more people kept moving there, cities kept growing, power got more expensive. Where power is 12 cents a kilowatt hour here, it's up to 35, 40, 45 cents a kilowatt in California. So picture your power bill here being triple or double, double or triple the rate that it is now. That's what's going to happen. And so a lot of people like to stop that now and, plug the hole. So it's like if I could have took you back in, 1991 when gas was 86 cents a gallon and said, hey, install this gas tank in your home and you'll only pay 86 cents a gallon forever. I bet when gas got up to $5 in California, people would have wished that they had that gas tank. They would have had that gas in their garage. But solar is the same thing. It's, hey, we're going to make this cheaper than what you pay, but not only that, we're going to lock it in, and you're not going to have to worry about it going up. So if they stay where they're at, it's a pretty insecure place to be. You don't really know what the rates are going to be. They are increasing. It's not NV Energy's fault. I mean, it is their fault, but it's not. Las Vegas is growing. It's just supply and demand. When more people come here, they do have to build more. It does get more expensive. They don't want to pay for it, so they make us pay for it. The energy that they use is fossil fuel energy. It is dirty and wasteful energy, and it never ends. So every time you make your NV Energy payment, let's say that your payment is $150 a month. Every time you make that payment, you don't get anything back on it. Nothing comes back to you for it. So, but now that you'll have solar, every time you make the payment, it will go into adding equity on the home. And if you guys paid attention, one thing I'll say when I mention this equity is I'll soft say it again. And now that you guys are going solar, every time you make a solar payment, it's going into paying off something that's building equity on the home. All right? I just soft seeded it there. They noticed it, I noticed it, but I kept going and I didn't stutter when I said it, okay? So I'll say, hey, it's dirty, wasteful energy. It never ends. Every time you make your NV Energy payment, it just goes off into the wind. You never see anything back on that. But now that you're going solar, every time you make a solar payment, it's going into paying off something that's actually building equity on the home. So if every time you pay your NV Energy payment, you're actually not saving anything. But every time you make your solar payment, not only are you saving the money that NV Energy would have cost you, but now every time you make that payment, it's going into paying off something that when it's paid off, you're going to save even more money. Does that make sense? When the solar panels are paid off, you guys won't have a power bill at all. The solar panels will be paid off and they'll still be cranking power, and NV Energy won't be charging you because you still won't be using electricity from them. Does that make sense? Awesome. So with NV Energy, you have really no control over what they do and what they say, and how much they're going to charge. Ask people in California how they feel about their power companies and their rate increases, and that's pretty much going to echo about how it sounds here in the next couple of years, just with the growth of the city. So you're always subject to a utility company, and you're always subject to buying your power from NV Energy. When you have solar, you really just control all of that. You're producing all of your electricity on your roof. You're not depending on anyone for it. And because you made the investment now, it's going to pay off later, big time. And then I'll drop into this. I'll say this is what your production came back as. We're going to be able to produce all of the electricity that you guys use in the home. So right here, guys, it says 2.8% from the utility. Um, when we generate these proposals, it won't let us go over 100%. And so what happens is sometimes it will come back like 97 and 90, with 2% here. Between overproduction and this whole proposal being based off a national average, usually when it's above 95%, we're producing more electricity than they use. For example, we have customers that got set up at 95% that have called Tyson and said, hey, we have a ton of extra credits that we've been using. We didn't think that it would even be producing this much. So we don't want to build the customers up on that. We don't want to get them caught up in thinking about that. But I just want you guys to know that between overproduction and this whole thing being based off a national average, if it's within 95, 96, 97, 98, 99%, it's odds are, I'm pretty certain we're going to be able to produce all of the electricity that they use in their house and some. So I don't get into all of that, but I just wanted to get into that with you guys. What I get into the customer with is I'll say, hey, we're using VSUN 310s. We're doing a SolarEdge inverter with 20 optimizers. Your system size came back as a 6.2 kilowatt system, and this is what it's going to generate. Do you guys have any questions about this? Okay, awesome. Just so you guys know, and on this screen is where I'll start talking about the loan, all right? Just so you guys know, the loan company that we use, LoanPal, doesn't allow anything under Tier 1 equipment to be placed with one of these loans. So just like anything else, there's three levels of solar panels, and there's tiers to it. So there's good and there's bad, just like anything else. The cool part is for your protection, they only allow Tier 1 modules to be installed with this program, and it's because with this program, it's working with the federal tax credit. They don't want Bob and Joe showing up with a truck and botchering your roof, or installing a solar panel that they overcharge for that that doesn't work. So they protected you guys against that happening by having a list of equipment and a list of things we're allowed to use, and we qualified as a Tier 1 installer, so that's why we're allowed to work on this program. And so this is where I'll build up the value with LoanPal, and I'll let them know, like, hey, with this loan, it's a specialized utility loan. And because it's a specialized utility loan, it's not going to show up on your trade line, and it's not going to show up as a debt on your debt to income ratio. So if you decided, to go buy a car after you did this, it's not going to show up on your credit, and it's not going to affect that decision. So like I said, this is a specialized utility loan that's made to work with the federal tax credit, and only Tier 1 installers are allowed to work with this program. And to be a Tier 1 installer, you have to meet Tier 1 install codes and standards, and you have to provide Tier 1 equipment, which is best of the best equipment. So another point that I'll mention is that with this inverter, it's SolarEdge. After they're turned on and they're installed, we're going to come back and turn on the system, and when we do, we're going to have them download the SolarEdge app on their phone, and that's how they're going to do the SolarEdge monitoring. So that's where they're going to be able to see what the production of the panels are, and they're going to be able to monitor pretty much anything that has to do with the system. Then I get into pricing. On this, I usually will face my iPad away, and I'll revert to the closing sheet. I'll look at this, but I won't show the customer, and I'll write this on the sheet. And the reason why we write it on the sheet is this is the part that the customer wants to see. So this is the part that they're going to pay attention to. And so you want to be able to control the situation even more by pacing it and writing out numbers when you are ready to write that number out. All right? So right at this point, I'll ask, do you guys have any questions at all? All right, you guys understand this is a specialized loan. You guys aren't going to pay anything up front for it. It's not going to show up on your trade line as a debt, so you're going to be good with that. And then I'll say, all right, so do you guys remember how much you're paying right now with NB Energy? And they'll say, yeah, we're paying, $100 a month. And I'll say, okay, you guys were actually paying $120. And then your new solar bill is going to be $95. So sometimes it's going to pop up here, guys, as like 21 or something like that. Like it's going to be like, because the basic service charge is $12.50, and so it's saying it's going to be like an extra $5 or $6 sometimes in energy. But like I said, between overproduction and this proposal with the tools that they build it with, is based off a national average that is used to having shade, and we don't have none of that problem here. I always just tell them that, hey, this is going to be the price. So I'll say, hey, this is going to be $95. You're paying $120 right now. And then I'll always mention that this is the basic service charge too. So I'll say it's 95 plus the 1250, and then they'll be like, wow, okay, yeah. And I'll say, yeah. And so when you explain that 1252, guys, that's a basic service charge that NV Energy charges. Regardless if you're a solar customer or not, everyone has to pay it because everyone's hooked to the grid. So anyone that's hooked to the grid has to pay it. So this price doesn't include their service charge either. So this is actually going to be 132, and then they'll do plus 1250 for that too, and that will be your price. So that's the reason why we write it on the pricing sheet too, is just that you can show them what you want to show them when you want to show it to them. Okay. From here, if you would have showed the slick, they wouldn't be looking at these two payments. They would be looking at this right here. And we're not ready to talk to them about that yet. Okay. Now on this slide, it says, over the next 25 years, they're expected to pay $83,867 for power. And I'll write that on the closing sheet. I'll also let them know that this is based off of a national average of the utility only going up 3%, and historically NV Energy has gone up more than that. So again, this is based off of a national average as well. It's based off of the utility only going up 3%. NV Energy has gone up multiple times more than that. So, and they plan on doing it more as time goes on. So this is a kind of a under-promised number. It's a lower number than it really is. But this is what we tell them. So 83,867 versus 19,278 with solar. And so I'll say over the next 25 years, you're either going to stay with NV Energy and pay $83,867, or you're going to go solar and only pay $19,728. And then they're going to be like, okay, how does that break down? And then you write this on the closing sheet. Your total price came out to $26,660. Your tax credit, congrats, it came back as $6,931. And then we'll ask, do you know how the tax credit works? If they do, awesome. If they don't, you can explain it to them, and then you can tell them if they want any additional information to just reach out to their accountant, and that they don't have to make the decision about the tax credit now. So when I mentioned this tax credit, that directly links into the reamortization period. So on the closing sheet, I'll mention the reamortization period being 18 months. The way that LoanPal works is, for this particular customer, his loan payment would only be $95 for the first 18 months. At 18 months, the loan reamortizes. All right. Now the loan's going to reamortize off of if they put this tax credit back into the loan, or if they kept it and did something else with it. So if they put it back into the loan, it's going to drop the loan price down to $19,728, and it's going to keep their price at $95.90. If they decide to take it and pay off higher interest, debt, or redo a backyard, or do something else with it, that's their choice. They have 18 months to decide that. But if they don't put it back in, then this price will go up, and I'll usually have that price for them, and I'll include the bank rate link to get that price below this video. So you want to show them, hey, you're getting this tax credit, and then just explain the reamortization period. Make sure they understand that you don't have to make a decision on the tax credit right now. Today, you want to relieve them of that pressure. And then you also want to let them know that we prepare the tax documents for them. So we prepare the stuff that they need to file to claim the tax credit. So regardless, for the first 18 months, their payment is only going to be $95.90. So at least after they're installed for 18 months, they get to enjoy having a $95 power bill. And then when 18 months comes, you can decide what you want to do with that, see where you are then. So then from there, I will go back into the pricing, and I'll be like, do you guys have any questions for here or anything? Any questions about the payments or anything like that? Okay, awesome. And then I'll say, usually what people like to see is it all on paper. So what I usually do is I'll get people pre-qualified. After I do that, it's going to send you your loan docs, and then you can open it up, and then you'll see all these numbers right here. And it'll also tell you what the payment will be if you guys don't decide to put it back into the loan. But I like knowing what that payment will be, even if they don't put it back into the loan, because sometimes if they have a south facing roof, even if they don't put it back into the loan, they're still saving money and we're still coming through lower. So I like knowing that stuff before I go in the house. But for purposes of getting them to pull up their loan docs and for them to see it, I'll tell them, hey, all the numbers are right there. So I usually help people open them, help people go through them, and then it sends you a copy when we're finished. And then from there, it's either they're going to pull it up or they're going to give you an objection. But most of the time, if you've gone through this, correctly, they're going to give you, they're gonna say okay, and then they're going to go grab their phone. So you want to make sure that they have their email pulled up, because what happens is after you send the loan docs, it's going to get sent to their email, and then they have to open it up in their email and sign it. And then after you get the installation, they get the installation agreement, they're going to have to sign that as well. So after you request the install agreement, make sure that they sign that. And then after the install agreement is signed, it's going to send you the email to sign the install agreement as well. You want to make sure that you get that signed. And then after, before you leave, but after you're done with everything, you want to walk with the customer and get the site survey pictures around the house. You want to get pictures of the main panel. You want to get pictures of the meter. You want to get pictures of the main breaker. You want to get pictures of the home from the front, from the back, and from each corner. And don't be afraid to take too many pictures. But when you send the emails in, guys, you're probably going to have to send them in separate attachments or send them in separate emails. Like I said, I usually break them down by bypass photos and meter photos. So I'll separate those two. And then if I have to, include, two emails, I'll say bypass photos for Ruel Dingle 1 out of 2. And then I'll say bypass photos for Ruel Dingle 2 out of 2. And I'll make sure that they're clearly labeled, because what happens is when you send those out, they go to the girls at the call center, and then the more organized, when you put that in the subject, it just helps them stay organized and it helps them find things quicker. So I hope you guys got a little bit of value out of this today. If you have any questions, feel free to call me or feel free to call Vlad, and we look forward to helping you guys with the closes and personal trainings.